In December 1979, a 21-year-old girl with $35 in her pocket stood in the Times Square subway station, shivering in a thin jacket, singing Holiday to indifferent commuters for spare change. Her name was Madonna Ciccone, and she had no idea that the man who stopped to listen that freezing morning would connect her to the producer who'd change everything. This is the true story of how Madonna went from subway busker to the queen of pop. It was 7:30 a.m. on a bitter December morning, and Madonna Louise Ciccone was standing in the dirtiest, coldest, most unforgiving corner of the Times Square subway station. She'd been there since 6 a.m., trying to catch the early commuters on their way to work, but so far her guitar case held only $2.37 in coins and a crumpled dollar bill. She was freezing. The thin denim jacket she wore over a ripped blondie t-shirt did nothing against the icy wind that whipped through the subway tunnels. Her fingers were so cold she could barely form the guitar chords properly, but she kept playing because she had no choice. This was survival, not passion. This was desperation dressed up as a dream. Madonna had arrived in New York City 18 months earlier with $35, a suitcase, and an unshakable belief that she was destined for greatness. She'd left the University of Michigan, abandoned a dance scholarship, and turned her back on a middle-class life in the Detroit suburbs because she knew, with absolute certainty, that she was meant to be a star. The certainty hadn't paid her rent, it hadn't bought her food, it hadn't kept her warm in the brutal New York winters, or protected her from the harsh reality that thousands of talented, ambitious young people came to New York with the same dream, and almost all of them failed. In the 18 months since her arrival, Madonna had worked as a coat check girl at the Russian Tea Room, served donuts at Dunkin' Donuts, posed nude for art classes at $7 an hour, and done whatever else was necessary to survive. But none of those jobs allowed her to pursue music, so 3 months ago she'd started busking in the subways. The money was unpredictable and often terrible, but at least she was singing, at least she was performing, at least she was doing what she'd come to New York to do, even if she was doing it in a subway tunnel instead of on a stage. Madonna's busking routine was calculated based on 18 months of studying New York's rhythms. She'd learned that morning commuters moved fast and rarely stopped, but they'd sometimes toss change without breaking stride if the music was good. She'd learned that Times Square was simultaneously the best and worst location, the best because of the sheer volume of people passing through, the worst because the competition from other street performers was brutal and the police regularly cleared out unlicensed buskers. She'd learned to position herself near the stairwells where people slowed down, to make eye contact with potential donors, and to smile even when she was so tired and cold and hungry that smiling felt impossible. Most importantly, she'd learned not to take the indifference personally. Out of every 100 people who passed her, maybe 3 would stop to listen, maybe 1 would drop money in her case. That was just the mathematics of street performing in New York City. This particular December morning, even those dismal statistics weren't holding up. In 90 minutes of performing, she'd earned $3.37, and her fingers were going numb. Despite the cold and the indifference and the growing despair, Madonna was giving the performance everything she had. She understood something fundamental about success. You never know who's watching, so you always perform like you're on the biggest stage in the world. She was singing an early version of Holiday, a song she'd been writing and rewriting for months, trying to capture the feeling of escape and celebration that she believed could make a hit. Her voice echoed through the subway tunnel, competing with train announcements and the rumble of trains and the cacophony of city noise. "Holiday, celebrate, holiday, celebrate," she sang, putting everything she had into the performance, despite having an audience of exactly 0 people who were actually paying attention. Then someone stopped. Camille Barbone was a music manager and producer who'd been in the industry for 10 years. She'd worked with several semi-successful artists, but she was always looking for that special something, the indefinable quality that separated stars from talented performers. She'd heard plenty of subway musicians in her decade in New York. Most were competent, some were good, a few were genuinely talented, but she'd never heard anyone who made her stop walking and actually listen until that freezing December morning when she heard Madonna singing Holiday. What caught her attention wasn't technical perfection. Madonna's voice was raw and unpolished. It wasn't the song itself, which was still in its early rough form. It was something else, something harder to define. It was presence. It was the way this freezing girl in a torn t-shirt was performing like she was at Madison Square Garden instead of a filthy subway platform. Camille stopped and listened. Then she kept listening. By the time Madonna finished Holiday and transitioned into a cover of Pat Benatar's Hit Me With Your Best Shot, Camille had been standing there for 15 minutes. When Madonna finished singing and started tuning her guitar for the next song, Camille walked up to the open guitar case and, instead of dropping money, dropped her business card. Madonna looked down at the card, then up at the well-dressed woman who'd placed it there. "You're wasting your time down here," Camille said. Her voice was matter-of-fact, not unkind, but not overly warm either. Madonna bristled immediately. She'd dealt with plenty of well-meaning people who thought they knew what was best for her. "Thanks for the career advice, but I'm doing fine." "No, you're not," Camille said, gesturing at the nearly empty guitar case. "You've made maybe $3 in the last hour and a half. That's not fine." "How long have you been watching me?" Madonna asked, suddenly defensive. "Long enough to know you're too talented to be begging for change in a subway station." Camille tapped her business card. "I'm a music manager. Call me if you want to actually do something with that voice." After Camille walked away, Madonna picked up the business card and studied it. Camille Barbone, Music Management, Gotham Productions. Her first instinct was to throw it away. She'd had plenty of people approach her over the past 18 months with promises and business cards and claims that they could make her a star. She'd learned that most of them were either lying or delusional, or both. But something about Camille had felt different. The woman hadn't gushed about Madonna's talent or made wild promises. She'd been almost brutally honest. "You're good, you're wasting your time here, call me if you want help." Madonna pocketed the card and went back to singing. She needed to earn at least $10 before she could afford to go home, and standing there thinking about business cards wasn't going to pay her rent. 3 days later, Madonna sat in a payphone booth on 8th Avenue with Camille's business card in one hand and her last quarter in the other. She'd been debating whether to make this call for 72 hours. Calling meant admitting she needed help. It meant potentially owing someone something. It meant taking a risk on another person who might just be using her or wasting her time. Not calling meant going back to the subway tomorrow morning to earn another $3 while slowly freezing to death. Madonna dropped the quarter into the phone and dialed. Camille's office in Hell's Kitchen was small but professional. Unlike many of the sketchy managers Madonna had encountered, Camille had actual credentials, actual clients, and actual industry connections. "I'm not going to lie to you," Camille said during their first meeting. "You're talented, but so are 10,000 other girls in New York. Talent isn't enough." "Then what is?" Madonna asked. "Drive, discipline, willingness to work harder than everyone else, and most importantly, knowing who you are and what you're selling." Madonna leaned forward. "And what am I selling?" "That's what we need to figure out," Camille said. "Right now, you're a girl singing cover songs in a subway. Who is Madonna Ciccone really? What does she stand for? What makes her different from every other talented singer in New York?" Over the next 6 months, Camille worked with Madonna to transform her from a street performer into a professional artist. This meant vocal coaching to refine her raw talent, dance training to improve her stage presence, and endless rehearsals to perfect her original songs. But more importantly, it meant developing Madonna's artistic identity. Camille pushed Madonna to think beyond just wanting to be famous and consider what she wanted to say, what she wanted to represent, what made her unique. "You're not pretty enough to be just another pop singer," Camille told her bluntly one day during rehearsal. "You need to be something more, something that makes people unable to look away." Far from being offended, Madonna found this honesty refreshing. She was tired of people blowing smoke, tired of empty compliments. She wanted someone who would push her, challenge her, force her to be better. "I want to be controversial," Madonna said. "I want to make people uncomfortable. I want to talk about sex and religion and everything that's supposed to be taboo." Camille smiled. "Now we're getting somewhere." By summer 1980, Madonna had a professional demo tape featuring her original songs, including a refined version of Holiday and several other tracks that showcased her unique blend of pop sensibility and provocative energy. Camille began shopping the demo to record labels, DJs, and anyone else who might give Madonna a chance. The rejections came fast and brutal, too raw, not commercial enough. Her voice is too unusual, she's not pretty enough for MTV. But Camille kept pushing, and Madonna kept working. Every rejection fueled her determination rather than diminishing it. The breakthrough came through Mark Cammins, a DJ at Danceteria, one of New York's hottest clubs. Cammins heard Madonna's demo and was intrigued by the raw energy and the obvious star quality. More importantly, he saw potential for her songs to work in the club scene that was exploding in early 1980s New York. He agreed to produce a proper recording of Everybody, one of Madonna's original tracks. The single was released in 1982 on Sire Records, and while it wasn't an immediate massive hit, it performed well enough in clubs to get attention from the label and from other producers. By 1983, Madonna had released her first album, begun appearing on MTV, and started the climb towards superstardom that would define the next 4 decades. She never forgot those subway mornings. In interviews over the years, she'd often referenced them as the period that taught her the most important lessons about survival, determination, and the difference between wanting success and being willing to do whatever it takes to achieve it. Those subway performances were harder than any stadium concert I've ever done, she said years later, because in a stadium, people are there to see you. In a subway, you're invisible. You have to make them see you. That skill, making people pay attention when they don't want to, that's what made everything else possible. Camille Barbone, the woman who stopped in that Times Square subway station, managed Madonna for 2 crucial years during her transition from street performer to professional artist. Their working relationship ended in 1982 amid disputes about money and creative control, but Camille always maintained that discovering Madonna was the highlight of her career. "I've worked with dozens of artists," Camille said in a later interview, but Madonna was different. She had this absolute certainty that she would be a star. Most people who have that certainty are delusional. But Madonna? She made it reality through sheer force of will. The Times Square subway station where Madonna once busked for spare change now sees thousands of tourists every day, many of them wearing Madonna merchandise or listening to her songs. None of them know they're walking past the exact spot where one of music's biggest legends was once singing for $3 a morning. Madonna's journey from subway busker to global superstar isn't just an inspirational rags-to-riches story. It's a testament to the power of persistence, the importance of believing in yourself when no one else does, and the reality that success often comes from the unglamorous work that nobody sees. Every morning she stood in that freezing subway station. Madonna was building the skills and resilience she'd need to survive in the brutal music industry. Every indifferent commuter who walked past without stopping was teaching her that rejection is just part of the process. Every dollar she earned through her own talent was proving to herself that she could survive on her terms. The girl shivering in Times Square with $35 in her pocket became the woman who'd sell over 300 million records worldwide. But she never forgot that the path to the top started at the bottom of a subway stairwell, singing for spare change from strangers who couldn't have cared less. Today, aspiring artists all over the world busk in subways and on street corners, hoping for their own breakthrough moment. Most will never get that chance, but Madonna's story proves that talent combined with relentless determination can overcome almost impossible odds. The next time you walk past a street performer, remember, you might be walking past the next Madonna, and the difference between that performer staying on the street or making it to a stadium isn't always talent, it's whether someone stops to listen. If this incredible story of perseverance and determination moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit that thumbs up button. Share this video with anyone who's chasing a dream that seems impossible. Have you ever pursued something despite everyone telling you it wouldn't work? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to ring that notification bell for more amazing true stories about the struggles behind success.